Welcome to the Vol Bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin. And man, if only times, like Andy Bernard said, if you only knew when you were in the good old days. Well, buddy, we are in the good old days right now. Dondi Plowman is tweeting the lyrics to Dixieland Delight. The Vols tennis team, Danny White tweeted 2 hours ago that the Vols tennis team is currently ranked number 5th in the country, and they are poised for a championship run. The Lady Vols have gone 4-0 on the weekend. The BaseVols have gone 3-0 on the weekend. It literally is an everything school. And Dondi included that in her tweet too. She did hashtag everything school, which was fantastic. We have a lot of fun stuff to talk about tonight. And Mino Likey, we're going to bring up something that you asked right as we were going off the air. I didn't see it till after we went off the air on Thursday night. Mino, like you said, evening bros and chat. How about them Vols? Absolutely. Zach said he loves your beard, Rustin.
It's not a beard. It's called laziness.
Mino Likey had when I was talking about, as we ended the live stream last Thursday, I said that I'm not superstitious. I'm a little stitious. Well, we spit in the face of superstition as we played the basketball outro, and the basketball team still won. And so there is no such thing as superstition. We have proven it. And but Mino, like you said, new segment. What's your stitious? So I think we're going to do that at the end of the show tonight. What an awesome game yesterday. Rustin, before I give away too much of what I thought, tell us what you thought about that game yesterday.
Where to start? I think the biggest thing that stood out was in a night when Dalton Knecht was really ice cold. And I'm not even going to give Alabama credit for how he played, because honestly, they didn't do that much to stop him. He was 5 of 14 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3. It wasn't that Alabama was doing anything. He just couldn't hit. He was just off. On a night when he's completely off, to see Zakai, Jonas, Josiah, Santi, Jordan Gainey, Jemai Meshack all step up and play huge minutes and shoulder that load. I mean, if I had told you before the game started that Dalton Knecht was going to go 5 of 14 and 1 of 7 from 3 and only scored 13 points, but somehow Tennessee was still going to score 81 points, you'd be like, wait, what?
Yeah, I'd say no.
It is incredible how those guys stepped up. And it wasn't, what was more impressive to me was it wasn't one guy. Zakai had 18, Jonas had 12, Joe had 11, Santi had 8, Gainey had 9, Jemai had 8, and they were a huge 8.
Yes.
It was remarkable to watch those guys just say, nope, not going to happen. We'll take care of it. Just a really, really impressive win all the way around.
Like he said, it was wonderful to watch. Absolutely, it was. Clay Gamble said, welcome, Clay. Good to have you, buddy. He said, I think Tennessee is the best team in the SEC. They sure are. Zach said we went 2-0 over the Crimson Tide this year. That's exactly right. Like he said, and you could add in there that Dalton only went, whatever percentage from the field, 1 for 7 from 3. And Jonas and Tobe played like maybe 4 minutes each, if that, in the first half. Maybe combined. I don't know. And amazingly, they still won that game. I mean,
to only be down by 2 at the half with the incredibly difficult foul trouble they were in for most of the first half was really honestly a testament to Santi. It was a testament to Jordan Gainey. I mean, those guys played their tails off.
Absolutely. I have very little to add to what you said, because this proved that even Auburn accounts were tweeting out, bashing Alabama during the game. Like, well, I guess they didn't need Dalton to beat the Crimson Tide after all, This proved that they're not a one-trick pony. They can manufacture wins multiple ways. And, Rick Barnes said it in the locker room after the game to his teammates. Number one offense statistically in the country. They held them to 33 points in the second half. Over 9 minutes where Alabama did not have a field goal. That's incredible. That's incredible. You mentioned Jahmai. Jahmai was absolutely huge, especially in the second half. But
I think it was his best game as a Vol ever.
And that's what Rick Barnes agreed with. He said the same thing. You look at one point in the first half, Josiah was the biggest guy on the court for us. And we weathered the storm. I mean, the officiating was horrible both ways.
Yeah.
It was an impressive win
We
by the Vols.
We broke the Pat Adams curse. We were 0 for 4 in the last 4 games Pat Adams officiated. I mean,
and we've said it repeatedly over the last few weeks. But you win in March by making free throws down the stretch. We said that over and over and over. Specifically, if your point guard can make free throws down the stretch, because he's going to be the one that you're inbounding the ball to, that they're going to be fouling, and he has to go to the line and make the free throws. And Zakai did that. When he first got fouled that first time he went there at the end, he made both of them. Then he gets fouled again, missed them, but they got the rebound. He gets fouled again and makes them then. So he did make free throws down the stretch. So that's how you win in March. You got to make your free throws when they're fouling to stop the clock. And Tennessee was able to do that.
What would you have said if I'd told you, hey, Tennessee's going to attempt 43s tonight, and Dalton's going to be 1 of 7?
That would not be good. That would not be good.
Alabama's entire offense is based around threes and layups. That's all they do. And we shot more threes than they did on a night when Dalton was ice cold.
Absolutely. Zach said, where's your Bama buddy at tonight? So Evan Myrick, if you're joining us, we welcome you to the show. We hope that you join us in the comments. Like you said, Jahmai was a hawk on that ball. Yes, he sure was. It was cool to hear Barnes tell him and Josiah after the game in the locker room. He said, Joe, Shaq, y'all were awesome. Those were his exact words. And that was really, really cool to see. Like he said, this is my favorite team. They have a goal in mind. They sure do. Zach said, hashtag have faith in UT. Like he said, yeah, it was horrible officiating. And Zach said, Pat Adams still stinks.
It's unbelievable. Like the man, I have yet to see him call a game this year where people weren't booing.
Yeah. I don't know who's going to be on the call yet at South Carolina, but I guess we'll find out soon. Yeah, surely he wouldn't have back-to-back games, but I mean, who knows? Crazier things have happened.
No, they're not supposed to be assigned to the same school back-to-back.
Let's see. Papa J. Welcome, Papa J. Good to have you. He said the whole team put in the effort. Absolutely. Jordan Gainey was huge in the first half.
Yeah.
They do not weather that storm without Jordan Gainey in the first half. I mean, that's just the reality of it. He carried that team offensively in the first half because everybody else was on the bench in foul trouble.
Yeah.
Zach said Zakai stepped up. He sure did. Let's see. Carl, welcome, Carl. He said, why are you guys here? Vols are top 10 in men's basketball, softball, baseball, tennis, and probably checkers too. We can checker stadiums better than anybody, can't we? But if we had a checkers team, they'd probably be in the top 10, and chess probably in the top team as well, or top 10. And that's,
you forgot ice hockey.
Yeah, that's true. That's exactly right. Yes. You got to love it. Yeah. Nick. Hey, welcome, Nick. Good to have you, buddy. Nick said rugby and ice hockey. Absolutely. Zach said Carl is exactly right. Tennessee is an everything school. That's the thing. Like that when the president of the university is tweeting out hashtag everything school, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm just saying, like, that's pretty cool. Like you said, hockey top. That's exactly right. One of my thoughts about the game, and I'm going to let Rick Barnes himself say it to you. This was my favorite part of. I'm not going to play the whole thing, even though this isn't like YouTube TV copyrighted stuff. This is just from the Vols Twitter account. But in case the algorithm thinks it is copyrighted stuff, I'm only going to play a couple seconds of it because I don't want the stream to end like we learned that one time. But I just want you to listen to what Rick Barnes says and then listen to Nick said cornhole. We're going to be on ESPN and cornhole too. That's what's going to happen.
The Ocho.
Yeah. So I just want you to listen to what Rick Barnes says and then listen to Josiah Jordan James in the background and how he responds to what Rick says. And you should be able to hear this too.
Now, I will tell you this, it'll be amazing. If we ever get everybody clicking at the same time, you know what we do.
Unstoppable. Yeah.
But the best part, second half, they scored 33 points. It might have been the best offensive team in the country. 33 points.
All right. So Rick said, what's crazy is if we ever get everybody clicking on the same night, you know what we're capable of. And Josiah in the background says, unstoppable. We're unstoppable. Could y'all hear that too when I played that? Good.
Yep.
I'm glad. So I love that because they understand who they are. I mean, teams say that all the time in the locker room, like nobody can beat us, nobody can beat us. But they're being serious. Like Rick straight up said, if we ever get everybody clicking on the same night, and Josiah immediately said, we're unstoppable. If that happens, we'll be unstoppable. They recognize that not everybody was clicking last night. Dalton had an off game, and it's crazy that he had an off game and was still like our second leading scorer. I mean, it's unreal, what he does. But even in that off game, Tennessee still scored 81 points because other people stepped up. And that was what was so incredible about last night was people all over the court were stepping up, making shots when it mattered, making defensive stops and getting turnovers when it mattered. That was a team victory and against a really good Alabama team. And Tennessee has set themselves up very, very well for what's coming. And Rick mentions that at the end of that video. If you hadn't seen it, I invite you to go to their social media accounts and watch that video because at the end of it, he says, we're right where we want to be. You know what's in front of us. Here's the thing. That game Wednesday night, because Tennessee's next game is Wednesday night at South Carolina. If they win that game, they clinch at least a share of the SEC regular season title. And they would also clinch the number one seed in the SEC tournament. Now you might be saying, well, why wouldn't they not clinch the actual regular season championship? Because SEC stupid. And apparently, even though they would have the tiebreaker over Alabama since they swept them, even if they win Wednesday night, but they lose against Kentucky, if Alabama wins their next two games, then they would have the same conference record. So they would be co-SEC regular season champs. But Tennessee would get the number one seed in the tournament because they would have the tiebreaker in that. Why in the world the head-to-head tiebreaker doesn't matter as far as outright SEC champions? I don't know. It's a joke that it doesn't. But if Tennessee goes out and wins both games this week, they will be outright, solely, all alone, first place regular season champs. Zach said, if Evan, yeah, I hope they do, man. I hope they do. So
I think the other thing that jumped out about what Rick was saying right there, and I don't think people give Alabama enough credit, and they sure don't give Tennessee enough credit. Alabama was averaging 91.5 points per game. They were the number one scoring team in America. And he made a point
in their home gym.
Yes. In the place where they take every shot in practice every day. We held them to 33 points in the second half. We held them to 74 total. That's 17 points under their average in their gym. And if we had played this first half defensively like the second half, we would have held them to 66. I mean, you're talking about a team that for the last 6 games has scored 90 or 100 or more every game for the last 6 games. And we completely stifled them. Like they looked very, very uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Just an absolutely tremendous game by Tennessee. A huge win. I mean, just a huge win. Absolutely huge. Like you said, it's okay. Fair use policy, that we won't get copyright for that. If I'm hoping the live stream did not end at any point during that. If it did, y'all can let us know in the comments. Let's see. Backflip Spaghetti. Welcome, buddy. He said, good to see y'all. I've noticed a trend of defenders grabbing, hooking, bear hugging. Our coaches / team so desperate to beat us, they're coaching these new defensive moves. So what was humorous was last night and late in the second half, Tennessee had an inbounds underneath their own goal. Zakai was inbounding the ball, and they ran a screen for Dalton. And as he came around the screen, the dude guarding grabbed his jersey. You could literally see this jersey pull away from his body, and they didn't call it. And I'm like, man, y'all been calling all this other stuff all night, and you missed that? How do you miss that? Everybody on TV saw it for sure. Let's see. Zach wants Purdue. He's like, forget the LSEC. Bring us Purdue. I love it. Let's see. Zach said we should be number 3 or 2 on Monday. I don't know. I mean, I hope that'd be cool. But national media typically hasn't elevated the Vols unless something crazy happens. So I mean, I hope they are. Zach said, you just listen to me, you'll be fine. I agree, Zach. You hit the nail on the head every time. I agree. Tyler said 50-50 balls were the difference in the game. Welcome, Tyler. Good to have you, buddy. You are correct. That is exactly how Nate Oates felt about the game as well. He mentioned that multiple times, actually, at halftime and then again after the game. Let's see. Mina Likey said, unstoppable. She heard Josiah say it. Absolutely. That was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Let's see. Zach, what are you talking about, man? He said, I just saw a picture of Russ with a Bama shirt on and froze. LOL. Nah.
Don't own one.
Carl said was hard on the soul to watch, but sheer joy to see him pull it out in the end, win that victory. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Let's see. Like he said, missed Sears out of bounds as well. Yeah. Okay. So are you referring to when he stepped out of bounds? Is that what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, that play that Minolaki is referring to, I think Santi was gardening at that time, if I remember correctly. And so, yeah. Okay. She said yes. So he drives left towards the baseline, and there was a screenshot going around on Twitter where they zoomed in on his foot, and no joke, his whole left foot is out of bounds. The whole foot, and he still got the ball in his hands. Like, he jumped off that foot to make the pass back inbounds. So the foot he jumped off of was totally out of bounds, and the ref missed it.
And the official's standing right there. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, the baseline ref is right next to him, and he missed it. So yeah, I mean, that was inexcusable, really. Zach said, just ripping on Rust. Off the bench. Hey, I wonder if this is Justin or Jeff. Y'all let us know. This is Off the Bench Chattanooga. We've had them on our show. I'm actually going to show you a tweet from Jeff here in a little bit, but Off the Bench said, Evans, because the SEC is stupid line, should be on the next Volboro shirt. I love it. Hey, well, let's do it. We can do that. Whoa, backflip spaghetti. Dang, man, that's awesome. Thank you. He said, I missed the entire second half because my wife needed to argue. Oh gosh, please don't divorce her. But we do appreciate the $20 super chat. That's incredible. Thank you very much. That is awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see some of the other comments that came through here. Jared, welcome, Jared. Good to have you, buddy. He said, does Tennessee move to the 4th number 1 seed on Tuesday when ESPN comes out with their updated brackets? I agree with Rustin. Surely they do. You can't, I mean, there's no reason for them not to. I'll put it that way, unless there's just unequivocal bias. I mean, like, that's the only way, like, that they would not be the 4th number 1 projected 4th number 1 seed. If they win the next 2 games, it would be almost impossible to keep them off that 1 seed line unless the quarterfinal. I mean, they've already clinched two round buys in the SEC tournament, so they're going to start in the quarterfinals. which will be on Friday. And so they'll have almost a week's rest after their last game. And if something happens and they come out and just totally get blown out in that game, which surely that won't happen, but if they did, in my opinion, that's the only way if they win the next 2 games, that's the only way they could not give them a 1 seed. If they win the next 2 games and are SEC regular season champions and they make it to the semifinals in the SEC tournament, it doesn't matter what happens in the semifinals. They're gonna be in the championship or in the 1 seed line. They have to be. Remember, all that matters in the SEC tournament is the semifinal round. The championship round does not matter because it's a Sunday game and they've already got the bracket set by then. They never say that, but that's what's happening. They proved it 2 years ago after the SEC tournament. So all that matters is just getting a Saturday in the SEC tournament. So if Tennessee wins 1 game in the SEC tournament, if they win the next 2 regular season games, they'll be a 1 seed. Let's see here. Carl, Meshack, that 3 and then get back on defense to steal the ball is a game changer. Totally agree, Carl. You might be hinting at some plays of the game coming up on our next little segment here. Austin, welcome. Austin, good to have you, buddy. He said, we are seriously set up to win the SEC regular season and get a 1 seed. All quad 1s in the final stretch. You're right. The next 2 games are quad 1 games. They're currently 6-5 in quad 1 games. So if they win the next 2, they'd finish 8-5. That's incredible that they play that many quad 1 games, but especially if you win 8 of the 13, that's pretty good. Tyler said, we got blessed with some calls too. Some were downright unbelievable. I totally agree.
Yeah, they were equally bad.
Poor Nelson, his 4th foul, that was not his 5th foul was a foul. His 4th foul was real. That when he was just blocking out Jonas Adu, I was like, dude, that's not a good call.
As long as he refuses to shave that mustache, he gets every call, or he deserves every call he gets.
Oh, man, that's pretty good. Let's see. Oh, Mr. Jones is giving his play of the game already as well. Should I star these and come back to him? I'm going to star him and come back to him. Let's see. Backflip Spaghetti said we're 2-0 so far through this really tough stretch down the way here. We got 4 really difficult games and we're 2-0 through them so far. Absolutely. Let's see. Minalaki is agreeing. So I'm going to star that one. That's a play of the game comment. Papa J is referring to Nelson as the stash. Let's see. Mr. Jones said Josh Heupel may be looking at Meshack to play defensive back. He's definitely athletic enough.
He was a really good high school football player. Played wide receiver and DB. His older brother was a college DB. Pretty good player.
Ricky. God, man. He looks like a guy Rustin sends into other teams to find the best player.
Could be. He definitely fits the profile.
Let's see. Oh, Tyler's giving his play of the game. Tyler, is that your play of the game? Is this your play of the game? If so, I'm going to start and come back to it here in a little bit. Let's see. Well, here's the deal. Play of the game is going to be a lot of fun to talk about. So let's save that. Let's do player of the game first, because play of the game, there is a ton that we could pick from. A ton. So, and I like to talk about a lot of different plays. Tyler, yeah, he said, yep, nearly jumped off his couch when he saw that. All right, cool. That's what I'm talking. So I'm going to come back to that one here in a second then. Papa J said we don't match up as well against South Carolina. Not if we're not shooting the ball well like we did last time. We got to be able to shoot the ball well. We had more people shooting it like we did last night. Let's see. All right, so Zach, are you saying JP Estrella is your player of the game? Is that what you're saying right here? I don't think JP Estrella was Zach's player of the game. You let us know in the comments. Mino, like he said, her player of the game is Jemai Meshack. I think that's a great choice, a fantastic choice. Is that the most minutes he's ever played?
Probably.
I mean, it certainly is this season.
Yeah, he had 27. It's probably the most he's had.
I mean, he played like 17 minutes of the second half. He hardly ever came out. Oh, Zach said JP is his bouncer. Okay.
Too
all right,
frail.
so let's do player of the game, and y'all let us know in the comments, just like me know, like you did, about your player of the game. Rustin, who was your player of the game last night?
Won by 7, and I don't think there were any 8 points in that game more important than the 8 points Jemai Meshack scored. All 3 of his shots came at huge moments. All 3 of them were daggers. I mean, just so important. Then you add on top the just unbelievable defense he played all night. He made Mark Sears' life miserable. Mark Sears wanted nothing to do with him by the end of the night. And, you know, he's the glue guy, and he holds everybody together. He handles everything. I will say an honorable mention, and I loved the timeout late in the game where they got a camera in the huddle. You know, a couple weeks ago, Rick Barnes made the comment in a press conference that the coaches don't even have to show up anymore, that Josiah and Santi could run every practice by themselves and it would be just fine. When they got that shot during a timeout in the huddle, and there's an awesome still shot of it as well, where Santi is drawing something up on the board, and Rick Barnes is sitting next to him watching. He's not saying a word. That is the pinnacle of senior leadership, to have that much trust in that kid, that if he walks in the huddle and says, "Give me the board," everybody just says, "Okay." I don't know that I've ever seen that before. I don't know that I've ever, and it speaks to Rick Barnes. I guarantee you, if Kevin Durant had walked into a huddle and said, "Give me that board," Rick Barnes would have smacked him over the head with it. I mean, he has changed drastically as he has evolved as a coach. And, you know, to see Santi walk in there and take over, and I don't know if anybody noticed, but coming out of that timeout, they ran a set play to get Zakai a shot that apparently Santi drew up some wrinkle in the huddle while they were over there, and Zakai got a wide open 3. It didn't make it; it rimmed out on him, but he was wide open. So whatever Santi saw that he adjusted on that play in the huddle, it worked.
Talk about total trust in one of your players, huh? Because here's the thing: it wasn't like it was like a blowout game against, you know, a team that, you know, we're paying them to come play us or something like that.
Yep.
This was essentially an SEC regular season championship game, late in the game, in a very close game, and every timeout matters, and every second of every timeout matters. And Rick Barnes was comfortable letting Santi say what he needed to say and drop a play on the board.
He gave him
just sitting there.
He gave him the whole timeout. The kid ran the entire timeout. I've never, ever seen a coach do that. I mean, it
was incredible. I mean, the fact that he was just sitting there not saying anything, just letting him do it. I mean, that was incredible. Some of the other folks chiming in here. Jared said, "Never thought I'd say it, but Meshack was his player of the game. Everybody else is in foul trouble." That's right.
He played his tail off.
Like he said, that he really struck fear into Sears, and he needs more minutes because he's so focused. Let's see.
I would say after last night, he will have a lot more minutes. He earned the right last night to be on the floor a lot more. And honestly, the other thing he earned the right for, and this probably isn't going to be well liked, he earned the right for them to shorten the bench a little bit. Like, they showed they can play at a high level with 7 guys. You know.
Yep. Ricky said Bob and Shaq, player of the game. Great defense and hit shots. Let's see. Carl said, "I was screaming, shoot the ball." There's a period where shots weren't falling and everyone was seemingly afraid to take it. Let's see. Tyler said, "To be different, he's going to do Triple J. He silenced the crowd anytime Bama gained momentum with big shots. He also helped a ton by playing the 5 while our bigs were on the bench." That's a great point.
Yep.
The fact that we were only down 2 at the half was amazing. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I texted Dad and Rustin at halftime, and I said they have to be very, very happy with the fact that Jonas and Tobey played like 4 minutes and we're only down 2 at the half. I mean, like that was huge. And Josiah was a big part of it. He had 2 huge threes in the first half.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge.
Well, and I mean, he was the biggest guy on the floor for a lot of the half for us, and Bama had some dudes out there that were a lot bigger than him, and
Had him,
he
6'10"
yeah,
against 6'6".
he did a heck of a job boxing those guys out and making sure he may not have gotten the rebound himself, but he made sure they weren't either. And we had a bunch of guards get rebounds in the first half because Josiah was just eliminating his guy.
Yeah. Like he said, Santi is a future UT assistant coach. Let's see. Backflip Spaghetti said Vescovy is his player of the game. Everything. So that's Zach said Vescovy is his player of the game. Zach said even in the locker room, it's Meshack and Vescovy. Let's see. Like he was saying, when that timeout was happening, those were crucial minutes, and Rick Barnes was comfortable letting Sonny draw up the play. Zach said, I almost picked Gainey, but he missed too many free throws. Mr. Jones said Vescovy with those steals where he was picking people's pocket left and right.
And I tell you, I was talking to somebody about that this afternoon. Some of the steals he gets, legitimately, I don't know if it's a European thing and maybe it's common over there, but I've never seen people get some of the steals he gets where he literally trails guys and baits them into turning their back on him and then somehow reaches in around them and pulls it out from the side the second that they happen to turn their back on him. It's some of the angles that he gets steals at are just mind-boggling.
Tyler said, what's cool about Meshack finishing how he did, he made a terrible pass with 5 or so minutes left to give Alabama basket, and Rick was not happy with that pass. You could like see him get upset on the sideline as the ball was going down the other end of the court. He said, I thought Rick was going to pull him. He was so mad. I did too. I legitimately did too. Even the commentators pointed it out. Great to see his response afterwards. Absolutely, man. I thought he's coming out of the game because they brought in a sub. Like there was a foul on the other end of the court. They went to the free throw line and they were bringing in a sub. And I thought it'd be for Meshack, but it wasn't. I know exactly what you're talking about. Mr. Jones said Vescovy going to have legal charges because of those steals. And, like he said, he's pickpocketing people.
I think that's another area. I think that's another area Rick has really grown and in his age has really kind of changed his thought processes. He doesn't really make the substitutions anymore. He allows his assistants to handle that. And I think, they showed it on camera. He snapped around and was ripping on all the assistant coaches after that turnover, but none of them sub Shaq out. Like they recognize there's one guy out there that's holding us together right now, and he's going to stay out there. And, there was a time in Rick Barnes' career when he would have just been like, go get him. I mean, pretty recently, he used to do that to Jordan Bone all the time.
I'd say last year even.
if Jordan Bone made a mistake, he was done. Like he was coming out that second. And he really doesn't react like that anymore. He allows his assistants to get a feel for the game, and they make most of the substitution decisions.
Carl said Jay Billis's tears were salty but tasty. Jay was not getting a lot of love from Vol Twitter last night.
Well, if they hadn't spent every waking moment talking about how great Nate Oates was, like at one point I was sitting there going, guys, y'all do know the guy on the other end of the court has 800 wins, right? Like we've all received that memo, correct?
Like he said, geez, just remember to hit the like button. Where are my manners? And we appreciate that. We appreciate it. Everybody hit the like button. And if you hadn't subscribed yet, we'd love that too. Carl said, great mind.
I mean, I like Jay Billis as a commentator. I think he does a great job. I think he's incredibly knowledgeable. But it did, like at times last night, it was starting to get overwhelming. Like it was like, why are we talking about Nate Oates so incredibly much? Like there's 2 coaches on this court right now, and one has won a lot more games than the other one.
The beautiful mind of Nate Oates. That was a funny segment. They did do a segment, to their credit. They did do a lot of segments on Dalton, and talked about him a lot too. But Jay was definitely feeling the heat from Vol Twitter last night.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tony, welcome, Tony. He said Zakai had that look in his eye all night. He was standing on business.
Yep.
So Zakai was my player of the game. Rustin, you got that stat sheet in front of you there? Can you tell me how many threes Zakai hit? I think it was 4.
Yeah, he was. Well, do you really want to talk about that stat? Because he was 4 of 14.
He hit 4, right?
But he missed 10.
Yeah. He did miss quite a few, but those 4 were absolutely huge because they came in huge moments. So, for example, really the dagger that was the game clincher essentially was late in the second half. They're swinging the ball all over the place. Sonny drives to the rim, or Zakai drove to the rim, kicked it out to Sonny. Sonny drove to the rim. Zakai relocated to the top of the key. Sonny hit him with a pass, and Zakai drained it. And that was really the dagger that kind of didn't seal the game by any means, because it was still a 3-point game after that. But it was a huge critical moment in that game. The way he played defense against Sears and what's the other dude's name? Ed's not I can't think of the dude's name.
Yeah.
You know how I'm talking about. Edstrom. I can't remember.
He's Hispanic, and I can't think of it either.
Yeah. So the other guy that was, their 2 guard basically. Somebody let me know in the comments what his name was. I can't remember his name.
I've got it right here. It's
there's an E in there somewhere. Estrada. I knew. There we go. Samson Swanson Samsonite. I knew it started with an S. So yeah, Nick said Estrada. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, the way that Zakai and Meshack guarded those 2 guys changed the game. I mean, that was huge. And so, you gotta, he came up huge in critical moments. His defense was huge. He did not have a whole lot of turnovers. He made 4 huge free throws down the stretch. He was my player of the game. He was fantastic.
This is an interesting stat. Shaq, Santi, and Josiah were 7 of 13 from 3.
There you go. 3 most valuable players right there last night for sure.
Yep.
Let's see. Carl said they kept referring to Bama as we. I didn't notice that. If so, that's not good for sure. Mr. Jones said Jay Bias. Big Orange Vol. Welcome, Big Orange Vol. He said Volunteers get the sweep over Bama. Barnes get his 802nd win. Absolutely. Like you said, and Zakai lit a cigar at half court. He did. Jeff said, I said earlier in the season when people were complaining about Vescovy that he brought a lot to this team that doesn't get talked about, including great defense that goes overlooked. You're exactly right. And we got to see a little glimpse of that last night in that timeout. You're exactly right.
And he's clearly a guy who has no issue holding his teammates accountable, because the only way a coach will let a kid have a clipboard in a huddle is if he knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that every person in that huddle respects that guy completely.
Amen.
Like if there's anybody sitting there who would question that move, no coach is going to let that happen. Like it speaks volumes to who Santi is in that locker room.
Absolutely. Carl said Adu was off last night. He was a little bit. He finally got it going there near the end of the game, but he was a little bit.
I texted Evan early in the second half. He was driving me nuts. He was playing so soft. I was having Olivier Combois flashbacks. I was like, what is this? He finally woke up. I don't know if somebody punched him in the face during a timeout or what, but he was early second half. He was awful.
Brent said, hey, Brent, welcome, buddy. He said, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard, being co-champs with Bama after sweeping them. That's insanity. I 100% agree. That goes back to because my line that I think we might put on a shirt because the SEC is stupid. I mean, that rule makes no sense. It's like, okay, it's the same situation for the SEC baseball tournament. Those are the dumbest rules I've ever heard of in my life.
That
It's
shirt would sell.
It would sell, actually. Especially if you put the NCAA is stupid on it. Then we'd really sell some stuff. But I mean, like here's the thing. In the SEC baseball tournament, it's double elimination until you get to the individual brackets, like winner's bracket final. And then all of a sudden it becomes single elimination. So a team can come through the whole loser's bracket, get to the winner's bracket final in each of the two halves. And if they win that game, then they don't have to beat the team twice. They just beat them once. I mean, it's the dumbest rules ever. The SEC is really, really good at making some kind of dumb rules. And so, I mean, like, yeah, it's because it is insanity. I totally agree. You know, like you said, do y'all think Bama flopped a bit? I mean, I don't.
Yep. Especially when Santi, every time Santi would drive, guys were hitting the deck that were barely being touched. Definitely.
Let's see. Big Orange Vol said, I hope we see Alabama again in the SEC tournament so we can beat them 3 times in one season. Same for Kentucky. Let's see. Nick said, if South Carolina wins out, they win the conference, right? Well,
yes.
Well, no. If they beat Tennessee, now let's think about it. If they beat Tennessee, then they have the same record. And so then if Tennessee wins on Saturday and South Carolina wins again, then they have the same record, but they would be co-champions, but South Carolina would get the number 1 seed in the SEC tournament.
Right.
Because the SEC is stupid about this for some reason.
For the same reason that it would be stupid if we went out and end up tied with Alabama for some reason.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I mean, for all intents and purposes, yeah, we'd be called co-champs, but the reality is they won head to head and they'd be number 1 in the tournament. So yes, they win the conference. I don't care what the SEC calls it. Yes, they win the conference.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Let's see. Mina Laggy said, wow, merch is exploding.
If you took a shirt and did, because the SEC is stupid, and do the SEC logo, but tweak it just enough that it's not a copyright infringement, I guarantee it'd sell like hotcakes.
Let's see. Mina, like he said, I refuse to co-champ with South Carolina.
Well, by the letter of the law, we're not. That's just what the stupid SEC would call it. If we lose to South Carolina, they're the SEC champ.
Yep. Nick said we have to beat them. Absolutely, we do. Absolutely. Zach. Oh my gosh, Zach. Zach said South Carolina winning. That's like me dying again without my knowledge. Oh, that's funny. Let's see. Carl said, who's worse, basketball or football officials? I think maybe basketball, because
I'm going to go basketball because it's become an annual tradition. Like the SEC officiating is the laughing stock of the rest of the country. Like it was I think it was Wes Rucker the other day that tweeted out, if you were to poll 10 fans in every basketball conference in America and say, name me one ref in the conference, probably in most conferences, nobody can name one. But all 10 SEC could name Pat Adams. Like they all know who Pat Adams is. That's not a good thing. Like no one should have that much knowledge of how bad an official is, and it be just a common denominator that everybody is on the same page about.
Absolutely. Tyler agreed basketball. Papa J agreed basketball. Carl agreed basketball. Zach said football. Let's see. Mina Likey and Nick had the same idea. like he said, make the S a dollar sign, and Nick said the exact same thing. We can make this happen, y'all.
I was
Like,
about to say, I'm sitting here going, yeah.
Like, this is something we can do. Let's see.
Yes, he did. Mino Likey just said Pat Adams ejected a radio commentator. Yes, he did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was the ultimate rabbit ears moment. A official on the court heard a play-by-play guy on the radio questioning his call and turned around and tossed that dude.
That's sad.
Yeah, that's Pat Adams 101 right there.
Yeah. Mr. Jones said we already got revenge on Texas A&M. Next up is South Carolina. Big Orange Vol said if we went out in regular season, can we get to number 1? We should be number 2 tomorrow, right? Do you mean like, I don't understand the question. Like number 1 overall seed in the country, or a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament? Help me understand that question. Let's see. So while that's coming in, we're going to go to play of the game. This is going to be fun to talk about. So I'll go ahead and show what some folks already said, and y'all can let us know in the comments what yours were. Mr. Jones said play of the game has to be Meshack interception and pass ahead late in the second half. That's a huge, major momentum shift in the game right there. Mino, like he said, agreed. That was the exclamation point on Unstoppable. Absolutely. Tyler said Meshack to Zakai to Jonas for the and 1 momentum killer for the Tide. That's the same play Mr. Jones is referencing there. Totally agree. Absolutely. Some of the other plays that are coming in now. Oh, Big Orange Vol said number 1 team in the country. I don't think so. Houston is like 25-3 or something right now. They're going to end up being the number 1 overall seed. Them or Purdue, one of the two. But it probably Houston. They'll end up being the number 1 overall seed. Mr. Johnson, do you think the refs are going to have it out for us because of a lawsuit against the NCAA? I mean, I don't think. I hope
They're not.
But
they're not paid by the NCAA. They're paid by the conference. They have nothing to do with the NCAA.
Tyler said, please don't become number 1 in the country. That lasts about 24 hours per history. He is correct, actually. Mino Laggy says, especially when Tennessee gets in the number 1 spot, then we quickly lose it. Mino Laggy said she has 2 plays of the game, Meshack 3 and the save back to back. Absolutely. That sequence was incredible. Absolutely. As he dove into the table. That's exactly right. Jeff said there were several huge plays made down the stretch. I agree. So, Rustin, do you want to give your play of the game first?
Yeah, mine's the same one almost everybody gave. I mean, when Shaq hit the 3 in the corner, what was more amazing about it to me was he was going to defend. He was running the sideline on, if you're watching TV, the top of the screen. Somehow read that pass, got all the way across the entire court, deflected it, and saved it back into Zakai. If Jonas hadn't come down and made that layup, it would have still been my play of the game, because I physically don't know how he got across the court that fast. Like that was just unbelievable. So to bury that 3 and then turn around and get that just unbelievable steal, that was an incredible 3 seconds of work on his part.
Totally agree. Absolutely agree. Let's see here. Speaking of the NCAA tournament and refs letting us play, Big Orange Vol said the refs let Tennessee play physical against Duke last year. Zach said his play of the game was the foul took by Zakai, shifted the momentum to the steal by Shaq. Let's see. Mr. Jones said top 10 Tennessee in basketball, baseball, and football. That is true. Very good. Very good. Like he said, yep, he was on that ball like a fiend. He hunted it down for sure. So I'm going to let Jeff Cates tweet here. If that name sounds familiar, we had Jeff and Justin on our show recently. They are the people who run Off the Bench Sports in Chattanooga, and Jeff tweeted this out earlier. So apparently, Alabama has a live camera feed on their radio commentators during every football and basketball game. So Jeff sent us this earlier from where he tweeted it out, and it is, you can watch in real time the reaction of the Alabama radio guys when Meshack hit the three and then got the steal and kicked it up to Jonas for the 3-point play opportunity. So I'm going to bless your evening with this beautiful, beautiful piece of film here. Enjoy, folks. Enjoy.
Working right at 5, down the lane, bounce pass in the corner. 3 from Meshack is good, and Tennessee is back on top. 63-62, 6 minutes to go, and a throwaway by Bama. Ziegler now with the basketball. Ziegler for the trailer Adu. Lays it up, count it, and he's fouled. And Bama lost its poise there for a moment, Brian Passek, and allowed.
I love it. The dude, so first when Meshack hits a three, the guy on the right and the black pullover there, he goes, and then the guy on the left in the white pullover, when Meshack intercepts the ball, he hits the desk, and then when Adu gets the and when he hits the desk again. I love it. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for bringing this into our lives. We very much appreciate that. That is must-see TV right there. Mina, like he said, dude is hilarious, facing his hands, so sad. Absolutely. Tyler said Chris Stewart is a great guy, but I'm sure he was more than disappointed. So Tyler, you have to inform me, who is Chris Stewart? Is that the guy in the video there? I need to know who he is. You got to let me know, because that video is hilarious. And I really struggled with picking a play of the game. Honestly, I had one, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, nah, I can't use it. I have to do a different one. So I will say, he said the guy in the blazer is Chris Stewart, play-by-play. So 2 honorable mentions were in the first half when Zakai was bringing the ball up the court. He passes it to Dalton, cutting down the middle of the lane, and Dalton catches it, takes off from the SEC logo and slams it.
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. That was pretty sweet, man. He jumped from the logo. Okay. That was pretty sweet. And I'm also going to give massive props to Jordan Gainey and how he played in the first half, particularly when he drove the middle of the lane, beat the dude and laid it in with his left hand, beat 2 Alabama defenders in route to the goal, and had an easy put in there. That was awesome. Fantastic play. And so, both of those were huge. But I'm telling you, when it happened, I really want to. Okay, so I'm gonna qualify this. My play, as far as like the most beautiful basketball play of the night, was when they passed the ball to Dalton in the corner next to the Tennessee bench. A double team comes after him, so he passes it up to the right wing. They swing it to the left wing, and they make an extra pass and swing it to the corner to Josiah. So the ball literally traveled the entire way around the perimeter of the court, and Josiah hits the three. That was poetry in motion. I mean, that was absolutely, that is basketball. Like, that was absolutely beautiful basketball. They swung the ball around the entire perimeter, made an extra pass, and made the open three. It does not get any better than that. It was gorgeous. It was absolutely beautiful. As soon as Meshack made the extra pass to Josiah, I went, oh yeah, baby. And then when he took the shot, I was like, go in, ball, because it deserved to go in, because that play was so pretty. It was so hard not to make that my play of the game, because as soon as that happened, I was like, well, that was my play of the game. And Carl just said it, unstoppable, baby. When everybody's clicking, unstoppable. However, Whereas I think that was the most beautiful basketball play of the whole night. I can't say it was the play of the game, because the play of the game was Zakai dribbling the lane, drawing defenders as the shot clock's running out. So he kicks it to Meshack, who hits a three with somebody in his face. And then as he's running back down the court, just like Rustin said, he goes to literally the opposite side of the floor to intercept a pass, save it in, and they come down and get an and one opportunity out of it. Unbelievable momentum shift in that game. Even Tennessee's basketball account, I think, tweeted out, "This is where the tide turned." I mean, like, that was the momentum shift in the game. Just an unbelievably huge 15 seconds of the game right there. That had to be the play of the game. It just had to be. Amina, like you said, yep, she agrees, absolutely. Amina, like you said, Duncan Connect. I like that, absolutely. It's for DK, it's Duncan instead of Dalton. Tyler said Gainey was key in getting Bama in foul trouble. Won't show on the stat line, but helped us down the stretch.
Yep.
Absolutely. Just a tremendous evening. And like Rick Barnes said, it's all right there in front of them now. They go take care of business at South Carolina. They essentially, even though the SEC might not say it, they are SEC regular season champs if they win at South Carolina. If you're joining us right now and you just heard me say that even though the SEC might not say it, and you're like, what's he talking about? Just so you know, if Alabama wins both games of their last two games this next week, which is very likely because they don't have difficult opponents. I think they have Arkansas and Vanderbilt. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's who they're playing. So the likelihood of them winning both of those games, pretty good.
No, they're at Florida, and then they've got Arkansas at home.
Oh, okay. So
Which
Florida might beat them.
At Florida, they could drop.
Tyler said they're at Florida. Yep. They could lose that game. If they lose that game and Tennessee wins, beats South Carolina, then they are the champions. Like, that's just the way it's going to be. Even if they lose Saturday, then they would still be the champions if Bama loses at Florida. So this game Wednesday is huge. They got to win it. They absolutely have to win it. And if you're wondering why would they not be champions if they win that game, so here's the deal: if Tennessee beats South Carolina but they lose to Kentucky, and Alabama wins their next two games, then they would have the same conference record, even though Tennessee would have the head-to-head against Alabama, beating them twice. But because they have the same record, the SEC would officially say they were co-champions, which makes no sense at all, because the SEC is stupid in this regard. And it would just be very unfortunate that would be the case, because at that point you're saying that those two games did not matter at all. They didn't matter. And that's really, really sad. But if Tennessee goes out and wins both these games this week, then they are in sole possession of the champion label. So that would be awesome.
The interesting thing about that Florida game is it's actually Tuesday. So coming into that game Wednesday night, Tennessee will know what their fate is. Like, they'll know how important that South Carolina game is.
Absolutely. Like you said, we're the yellow shortstop court storming or to keep Bama fans from leaving. So in case nobody knows what like he's talking about, there were videos that were released. She said shirts, yellow shirts, were the yellow shirts there to stop Bama from storming the court or to keep Bama fans from leaving. So the thing is, there was a video released after the game where security at Tuscaloosa was practicing and rehearsing how to stop court storming. I almost said storm courting. They were practicing it before the game. I guess one way to stop it is you lose. I guess that's one way to stop it. But nobody was storming that court, that's for sure. Tyler said Florida just took them to overtime, and Tuscaloosa should be a good one, no doubt, for sure. Carl said for Shaq to drop that 3 and not revel in the moment and to commit that kind of hustle to steal the ball, that's how champions play. Totally agree. Nick agrees with Carl as well. That's a great point. That is a great point. That is a fantastic point. And he even said, they were asking about it after the game, and he said, we know they like to push the ball up the court like that. So as soon as I made that shot, I was running back on the court, and I turned back knowing that they might be passing it, and I saw the pass coming. I went over and got it. That was awesome. Absolutely. Well, so wow, it's 10 o'clock. So let's talk about baseball. The Vol baseball team, 3 run rule victories this weekend. Apparently, Billy Amick is good at hitting a baseball. He think about this. When I'd like to know the stat. Friday and Saturday, he got a hit in every single at bat. That's nuts. Who does that? He literally got a hit in every single at bat. Has that ever happened ever before? Surely maybe like a handful of times in the history of college baseball. But dude, almost then this weekend, he got a hit his first at bat, I think, and his second at bat he struck out, and everybody's like, "Oh man!" I mean, that's nuts. Dude got a hit in every at bat for 2 games.
Yeah, he was 6 for 9 on the weekend.
So not bad, not a bad weekend there. What'd you think about the BaseVols this weekend?
Just more of the same. It's the same stuff we've been talking about. They're just so ridiculously deep. On any given day, anybody can kill you. Today it was Cannon Peebles. Cannon Peebles, Dalton Bargo.
I was about to say Dalton Bargo, yeah.
Even Ethan Payne. Ethan Payne contributed today a couple of hits. Yesterday
Cannon played extremely well.
Yeah. Yesterday it was a combination of Blake Burke, Billy Amick, Cannon Peebles, and then Friday it was
Nick said Dylan Dreiling had a great game today. He hit one off the top right corner of the scoreboard, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah. Friday it was Burke, Amick, Dean Curley. The crazy thing is, and all these people we're naming, we didn't name Christian Moore. We didn't name Kavaris Tears. We didn't name Robin Villeneuve. There are just so many guys on this team that can hurt you in so many different ways. I would hate to be a pitcher facing this lineup. You just, on any given pitch, the ball can leave the yard to anyone.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter where you are in the lineup. And then the thing that's really fascinating, the thing that I keep going back to, like AJ Causey was lights out on Friday, Drew Beam was lights out yesterday, but they still, I think they found the third starter. I think they now know AJ Causey's probably going to be Friday or Sunday. AJ Russell will be the other one, but they threw 8 guys today in a 7-inning game. They threw 8 guys. And there's just so much depth and opportunity there. Derek Schaefer is going to continue to play well. Matthew Dallas has flashed. He didn't throw well today, but he's thrown well up to this point. Kirby Cannell, Marcus Phillips, Xander Sechrist, Austin Hunley, Dylan Loy. There's so many guys that they can go to. And then, that doesn't even count the ones that threw Friday and Saturday. It is a wealth of riches.
It's exciting to see the Loy kid out there because he's from Sevierville. So it's exciting to see him throwing well, and that's really exciting.
Well, and he's a stud. He's a future star.
For sure. Carl said they have so much power, it's crazy. The other team may have like a dude that's dangerous. The Vols have 12. And he's exactly right. You can't find a hole in the lineup. Was it Friday or Saturday? Christian Moore and Blake Burke start the game off with back-to-back home runs.
Saturday. Well, and then Billy Amick came right behind him with a double. And Burks was on the first pitch. I want to say that was like the first either 5 or 6 pitches total. The dude had given up 2 home runs and a double. It was like, it's going to be a long day for you, buddy.
Not the ideal start you want in that situation. I mean, Carl's exactly right. There is no like weak spot. Greg Maddox, one of the most famous videos of him now circulating the internet, is he's talking about pitching to Barry Bonds, and he said, he really was pretty easy to pitch to, because if it mattered, you just walked him.
Mhm.
And he said, I mean, you got to find 27 outs in the lineup, and you're not going to find them with him, so you just walk him. Well, think about Tennessee. Like you
Yep.
can't find 27 outs right now with that lineup. It's and literally this whole weekend they could not find 27 outs because there were only less than 7 or 7 innings. So I mean there were 18 outs, I guess, in Tennessee, because the bottom of the 7th wasn't even played in some cases. So I mean, like the whole lineup all the way through. I mean, when Dean Curley's hitting like 7th or 8th or something, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's how good they are.
And again, Dean Curley was supposed to be the backup.
Right.
Ariel Antigua won that job. Like
Yeah.
Dean Curley's out there tearing the cover off the ball, and he wasn't even supposed to be starting.
Yep. Tyler said this team seems to have even more run-heavy innings than previous years, like 9 to 10 runs in one inning, which separates them early. Yeah, I mean, like 4 runs in the bottom of the first today. Then in the bottom of the second, 5 more runs. I mean, like, it's just they can pile it on so fast because they have so many bats. It's incredible. I mean, like I said, it's great to be a Tennessee Vol. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Mr. Jones has a good question. He said, what chance do you think Zakai has of becoming like a Muggsy Bogues type guy in the NBA? What do you think?
Definitely won't get drafted because he doesn't check all the boxes there. But I could easily see, the NBA is like the NFL. It's all about timing and fit. So I could easily see him being an undrafted free agent, and if he gets signed by the right team, especially a team, like the old Mike D'Antoni teams that ran nothing but pick and roll all the time. The one thing that he can show on film is he's a really good decision maker and a really good passer in pick and roll situations. And, for NBA teams that are heavy on pick and roll situations, Zakai could prove that he's the kind of guy that they would want to, put on the end of their bench. So I could see him making a roster, probably spend some time in the G League to prove himself, but I could see him eventually making a roster. I mean, look at Admiral Schofield. He had to prove himself in the G League for a couple of years before he became a fixture in the NBA. Sometimes these guys have to spend some time proving they can stick.
Yeah, I would agree with Mr. Jones. He would have a specialty that he could bring to the table if he made it to the NBA, and it would be his defense. That would be the thing that teams would like, because nobody plays defense in the NBA. And so if he actually had somebody that did, that would be a welcome change. So I think that would be his specialty. It would be like the Jemai Mashak of Tennessee's team right now, a guy who defends like crazy and then every once in a while makes a shot. That would be Zakai's role in the NBA, because he's not going to be able to make it to the basket because he can't even really do that much now anymore because teams are so big that they block his shot. Carl said, how deflating. They had 55 runs in their series before, had 8 against the Vols. That's the thing. Like Tennessee, the teams they're playing, they're not terrible. Like they're good teams.
Had
Bowling
8
Green's
against the
good.
Vols in 3 games and got run ruled all 3 games.
Right. I mean, like Tennessee, they're the stuff, man. Like their baseball team is good, just straight up good. My son walked in today. I was watching the game, and it was when it was 10-2. My son walked in and goes, geez, we're really good at baseball this year. I was like, yeah, they're doing well. They're doing well. Other news happening right now. So the Lady Vols have gone 4-0 on the weekend so far. They play tomorrow at noon. And then the real big game comes on Tuesday. They have to go to Clemson They play 6 o'clock at Clemson Tuesday night, so that'll be a big game. The baseball team, I have not yet looked. Let's do it right now. I have not yet looked at who their midweek game is this week. So they put. Ooh, hey now. I might have a road trip Tuesday. I don't know. Maybe heading to Knoxville. The Tennessee Volunteer baseball team plays Kansas State Tuesday night at 6 o'clock in Knoxville.
Yeah, it's a weird week. They've got K-State on Tuesday. They got Southern Indiana of all people on Wednesday, and then they've got a 3-game weekend series against Illinois, which is another weird one. I think Tony Vitello subscribes to the schedule as many northern schools as you can early because they'll suck when they actually get on a field. They've played an abnormal amount of northern teams.
Man, I'm telling you what, that is very intriguing for Tuesday night. 6 o'clock start time, and Lindsey Nelson, Kansas State coming to town. That'll Tyler said it'll cost you a car payment to get in. It probably will. I think the get-in price for the Tennessee-Kentucky game next weekend is already over $200. That's just to get in the door. I mean, unreal, man. Mr. Jones letting us know it's K-State. Mr. Jones said Zakai has to get tired of the announcers calling him a little kid. Yeah. Carl said have been watching softball as well. Carl said that's because they're not used to playing yet because all the snow up north.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I played for a guy who scheduled like that. The first 10 to 15 games of our schedule every year were northern teams that hadn't been on a field yet. That was intentional. We knew we could go get easy wins because they were going to boot it all over the place.
So huge week, really, for baseball and softball this week. Just a lot of really good games going on. Lady Vols lost a close one today at South Carolina. I mean, it's an 8-point loss. Not bad, honestly, against South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler, great minds, man. See, Tyler, we're on the same wavelength, buddy. He said, do the Lady Vols make the NCAA tournament with 17 regular season wins? Does the streak end?
I think they got a couple of things working against them. So they're the 2:30 game on Thursday. They play the winner of Georgia and Kentucky. So they can definitely win that game. So that puts them at 18 wins. The next round they would play Alabama. I think something that's hurting them is the SEC this year nationally is not viewed well. Like it's South Carolina and LSU and then all the rest of them. And, I think what we're going to see happen is I think the SEC probably only gets 4 teams in the tournament. And whoever wins that Bama-Tennessee game on Friday is going to be the 4th. I think LSU, Ole Miss, and South Carolina are in. But I don't think we get more than 4. And I think they're going to view that Friday game between Tennessee and Alabama as basically a play-in game.
So we have not talked about this. I mean, obviously we hadn't because the question was just asked. But my answer was going to be if they make it to the SEC semifinals, they'll get in. If they don't, they won't. And that's exactly what Rustin just said too. I think that's going to have to be the case because – unfortunately, they just have not shown a whole lot this season. But, I mean, you want to talk about a sad day for women's college basketball will be the day when the Lady Vols don't make the NCAA tournament, and we are dangerously close to that this year. So I hope they do. For the sake of women's college basketball, I hope they do. But it's going to be a close one this year for sure. But the tennis team, man, they're rocking and rolling according to Danny White. So number 5 in the country. I mean, like you said, that's sad about the Lady Vols. I agree. It's very sad. Hopefully they'll get in there. That's the hope. Huge week of Tennessee athletics. Thursday night we'll have a bunch of games to be talking about. So we hope you join us Thursday night. Have I forgotten anything? Let me check my notes because I wanted to make sure I hit everything. Let's see. Yeah, I got everything. I did not do what Mina Likey requested of new segment, What's Your Stitious? So we'll have to save that for Thursday night, but it's already 10:16, so we're gonna have to get off here for the evening. But Mr. Jones said if they don't make the tournament, okay, then Kelly's on the hot seat for next year if they don't make the tournament, because the Lady Vols do not make the NCAA tournament.
If they don't make the tournament, I think Kelly's on the hot seat right now.
For sure.
Because if you look at this roster, it ain't getting better. Like they lose a lot off this roster, and what's coming in to replace it isn't going to replace it. Like they're going to have to either hit the transfer portal like there's no tomorrow with an empty checkbook, or they're going to have to make a change. Like it's going to be interesting to watch how it shakes out.
Mr. Jones said, could Candace Parker coach them? I mean, not as long as she's playing in the WNBA, but Carl said Tennessee will win a third consecutive all sports for SEC. Forget what to call the award. I mean, absolutely. They're killing it, man. Everything's cool. Everything's cool. Like he said, they'll be backing a moving truck into Candace Parker's driveway. You talking about Candace Parker, or are you talking about Kelly?
I think she means Kelly.
Well, we hope everybody has a great evening. Thank you all so much for joining us. This has been awesome. Let's see. Backflip Spaghetti, thank you again for that super chat, man. That's incredible. Thank you. We hope everybody has she's talking about Kelly. Carl said, feel bad for Kelly Harper. Hope things would change. I agree. Mr. Jones said Dalton, number 1 overall draft pick. I don't think it'd be number 1, but I think it'll be top 5. There's, dudes playing in other countries right now who will end up being number 1 picks, but I do think he'll be top 5 for sure. Sam said, I don't think Kelly is a problem. They need talent. Unfortunately, she's the one recruiting that talent.
The problem with that statement is almost the entire roster was recruited by her. So, I mean, if you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like at some point you have to be accountable for the people you're filling that roster with.
Jay Vol said it's time to move on from coaches associated with Pat. I mean, maybe it just depends on who it is and if they can recruit.
Carol Lawson's a pretty stinking good coach, and she's associated with Pat. I wouldn't mind seeing her on the Tennessee sidelines.
Spend time with the Celtics.
Yeah. If Brad Stevens is willing to hire a female to coach on the Boston Celtics sidelines with the NBA, he kind of knows what he's looking at and kind of knows what he's doing. I'll take that. I'll take that reference every day of the week.
Mr. Jones said, "What do you do with cake that you have besides eat it?" That's a good point.
True.
Carl said, "Thanks, bros. Enjoy so much." Hey, we appreciate you, Carl, very much, man. We appreciate everybody joining us.
I would also say, even though he's older now, he's still a fantastic coach. Back when they had the chance, they had a chance to get Wes Moore back when they hired Holly Warlick. And he's 64, 65 years old, but he's still winning at a high level. And with Tennessee's resources, I think you would see a big-time winner in Knoxville and Wes Moore.
Absolutely. Sam said, good to have you with us, Sam. I know this, I didn't say that the first time, but Sam said, fire them all, start again. Not going to solve the issue. Talent and transfer talent. Talent's going to solve it.
But that's part of the problem, though. The majority of this roster was recruited by Kelly. Clearly, somebody is struggling to evaluate talent, and I'll go ahead and say it. Who's gotten better? Like, development matters, and I haven't really seen anybody get significantly better.
Sam said, I hear people saying fire Rick Barnes. Yeah, I hear those people too, and they're crazy.
Yeah, they're nuts.
And Rick also has the number 4 team in the country right now. Mr. Jones said, and Danny, orange and white, we trust. Mina Likey said, another great show. Thanks, bros. Good night. Hey, we appreciate you so much. Mina Likey, thank you. I don't know what that means.
I think he means the point guard. Yeah, their guard play has been pretty terrible.
Yeah, I mean, like he said, and Rick has 802 career wins too. Yep. Yeah. Tennessee fans, sometimes we can be a fickle folk. Sometimes we can. I agree with Sam. Sometimes Tennessee fans can overreact to things. Sometimes.
Yeah, I don't want to see Kelly get fired. Nobody was hoping
nobody
she would succeed more than me because I couldn't stand Holly Warlick. I was screaming for Holly Warlick to be gone. She was a terrible coach, great recruiter, terrible coach. So I wanted Holly to be as successful as anybody, but the reality is it hadn't happened. Like players aren't getting better. They're getting beat by teams they shouldn't get beat by. Now they're on the bubble of even making the NCAA tournament. And there's really, really good basketball coaches out there who would kill to get that job.
Yep. Sam said Rick Barnes has been the best thing that happened to Tennessee basketball. Agreed. Totally agree. He's a phenomenal coach, phenomenal man. Like he's wonderful. He's wonderful. Like he agreed with you. So this week could be pretty telling about what ends up happening with Tennessee Vols and Lady Vols basketball. So huge week ahead. Carl said it was Butch Jones A talent, C results. Yep. That 2016 team, how many people on that team are still playing in the NFL? Tons of them.
We counted that one show and it was a C number. There it was in the 20s. Like you're just sitting there going, how did you have 20 plus NFL players and you couldn't go better than 8-4?
Yeah. All they had to do is beat Vanderbilt to win the SEC East and be in the SEC championship game, and they couldn't do it. Oh, well, that was a fun way to end the show. Hey, this is a lot of fun, man. It really is. And so huge week coming up. Hope everybody joins us Thursday night. I think I've said that about 4 or 5 times now, but I think I am going to end it this time. Would you like to end with let's do the basketball outro just because it's a big week ahead for them.
Oh, that win last night deserves it.
I agree totally. I totally agree. So we're going to close with the basketball outro. We hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we really hope you join us Thursday night, 9:00 Eastern. Same thing, X, YouTube, Facebook. We hope you join us then. Good night, everybody. And Carl just said, wait, what night? Well played, Carl. Well played, buddy. We hope everybody has a great evening, and we'll see everybody soon. Go Vols, y'all.